Three!
Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade. So, we're pulling out the medieval grenade guys, the ball sacks, or whatever they're technically called, the Zykalian Militia, I think? Yeah, we're not going to be using that as a pronunciation. Grenade guys, let's stick with that. Yeah, a little bit of a comedy unit, not one that we're particularly reviewing because they're a good unit, because they're not, but they are quite funny. And they are quite entertaining to use, and they are very occasionally satisfying when you get them to work quite nicely. So I thought it would be a bit of a laugh, and it was a little bit of an excuse to try and do a Monty Python holy hand grenade thing at the start. So that was realistically the reason we're having these guys as a review. We have looked at them before, obviously a Season 5 unit. Certainly don't go and get them if you're a newer player. You do not need these guys. But in terms of what they actually do, they basically have these little hand grenades. They carry about 3 or 4 of them along the top line, and they can throw quite a short distance. I think it's about 20 meters. You can actually check that on the trait. Oh wow, a whopping 30 meters. And they do a little bit of blunt damage when they land, 375 on the blunt, and then they basically set fire to everything underneath them and cause that kind of a fairly substantial amount of burn damage. Realistically, the top line is the way to go. People, myself included, when I first unlocked them, got drawn in by this blunt damage increase down here, this plus 600 points. Yes, it means you do more damage on the instant hit, but the real damage is in the burn damage, is in the hellfire along the top line. Not only do they do more burn damage, but they actually set the ground alight for longer, so you get a longer period of burn. And this, because it's hellfire, it's not like incendiary archer fire, it's hellfire. That means it will burn everything, including fireproof units like stalwarts, which is always satisfying to do. I'm sure you'll see probably most of the clips is me trying to burn stalwarts. So yeah, that's why I've gone on the top line. Doctrine wise, you never wouldn't believe I can actually speak English. It just doesn't seem to happen for me sometimes. We've obviously got the extra ammo. Other than that, blunt damage, I went for a reasonably decent doctrine because this takes their base damage. So plus 75, one there would other be 300. So it's basically taking their base damage from 300 to 375, and the grenades do exact amounts of blunt damage. So you're actually getting an almost third increase again, not quite, maybe 25% or something. So really worthwhile having increased damage to units, then piercing defense and health, because they are fragile at 3,700 hit points and only 370 piercing defense. Longbow heroes, they headshot them, will one-shot kill them. They'll also die remarkably quickly to pavis, archers, tercios, anything gun-related will kill them pretty fast. So yeah, got to be staying behind allied units to try and keep them safe. But they do have this really nice 6.2 movement speed, so they get back to and from the supply point pretty quickly. But anyway, we're not going to have a long chat about them. Let's hop into some fights. Let's see who we can throw some grenades at and burn. So for our first clip, we are in on Sun City. We've already lost the A and the B point and down to the C defense. Lost my paladins, so I was coming back in with these grenade dudes. Looks like actually quite a big push on the point, so I just go straight in and go immediately for that lob. And actually, we hit quite a bit of stuff. And this is kind of where the unit does, if not well, at least passably. There's quite a lot of enemies in this fight, and quite a bit of stuff for us to burn. That second throw went a little bit too far, so unfortunately don't get quite the same amount of kills. But we do pick up a random hero kill, and it's pretty embarrassing for that poor guy to get killed by these medieval grenade throwers. Pretty unlucky. But then we get another good hit in. I end up pulling them back and sending them to the supply point, but we're still getting burns. I actually get a pretty toasty, pun intended, 107 kills with them so far. Not 107, up to 107. We had sort of 80 or so at the start. But it shows a little bit what the unit can do. But it's not really about getting kills with these guys. You know, it's just about applying that damage across a wide area. You can sort of halve the health of an enemy unit on a point quite effectively, and that is quite nice for the team. And it does actually cause a little bit of stun as well to stalwarts, so actually, you know, relatively effective as a unit in some situations. I guess it's just that these situations where there's fights like this where you can cleanly get at the back and get these nice throws in with these grenades are kind of rare, if we're being honest. A lot of the time, you just end up getting caught out in a bad situation. So we start to move up with them again, and unfortunately, we get hit by a Treb. I was pretty aggrieved about that, to be honest. I felt a little bit hard done by. I'm normally pretty careful watching out for Trebs. But yeah, didn't think that just running along I would be unlucky enough to effectively just run through a Treb like that. So I felt a little bit aggrieved. But half the unit's dead. We've still got half of them left, and I'm not going to just give up on them quite like that. So with there not being that much push on the C point kind of at the moment, they're sort of pulled back a little bit the enemy. I'm just sort of keeping the unit around, but trying to keep them out of the line of fire, because I'm waiting for that next stalwart unit, the next cluster of enemies to push up nicely so that we can get some pretty decent burns on them. And not too long time, a nice stalwart unit shall oblige. And here they come now, nicely clustered together, which is exactly what we want for us. And enables us just to get thrown in. A nice double unit coming up, and even though we've got half strength unit, we can still get in, and you can see the amount of ticking damage we are actually doing. And even though we're not really killing anything, we're actually applying quite a lot of damage here to a double stack of stalwarts. And that is certainly worthwhile doing. It's just not as effective as, say, the flamethrowers. You know, they would actually just burn and kill. These guys just burn and do a little bit of damage. But unfortunately, as I head back to the supply point to resupply, get quite a bit of stuff starting to turn up. It starts to get a little bit difficult for us to defend the point. We end up losing the sea, and I pretty much get driven back. I try and grab the kill on this little short sword, but realistically I was going to die if I waited around any longer, so had to make a run for it, and I swapped out the unit for the tercios. So for our second clip, we are on the new Viking siege map, and we're actually starting to push towards the sea point now, and we get a real opportunity to throw in this really juicy unit of shields. As you can see, it smacks into the middle, it basically burns the whole lot. But it's not actually enough to get a complete kill, and that is one of the drawbacks of this unit. You basically have to land 2 or 3 full clean hits to actually start to get any kills against enemy units. But that second hit, that is enough to really start to do the damage. And as you can see, we just wipe out that complete full stack. And then basically trying to get a hit on those fortibraccios. We get our thrower, actually we managed to clip quite a few of them, which is kind of nice. Not necessarily going to be getting the kills, but the fact that you're getting the damage on them is kind of nice to do. We fortunately get clipped by the back of the berserkers though, but as the team pushes down, I see my best opportunity I can do here, the best help I can be is to try and dislodge these forties. And while we're not going to be getting a ton of kills, we actually do enough to disturb their formation, and as the team pushes in, we actually push through them quite convincingly. And, you know, okay, it's hardly exactly the performance of the century, but it's still 50 kills is 50 kills. It's not to be sniffed at too much. But then we push on to our third and final clip, on Riverlands Castle. Always a bit of a challenging map to get started on, because everyone from the enemy team always stacks in this gateway. But I am able to get through, just get round enough, and throw into these stalwarts in the gateway. Of course, we're not going to be getting the kill, but I'm hoping to either do damage to make it easier for the team, because now the team's starting to push, either do enough damage that it makes the stalwart player want to pull his unit back to the supply point, but either way I'm trying to clear out this gateway. We go for the second throw, and this is where we start to get a couple of kills, but realistically it means these stalwarts basically have very little health remaining at this point. And you can see how they break formation because they're actually on fire, and that enables our team to push in, and they basically put up no further resistance. We go for one final third throw into the cluster. Really not a lot left enemies-wise in terms of stalwarts, just a couple of enemy heroes. And I'm now eyeing up those very juicy unit of janissaries, which is what I really want to be getting these grenades into. Get the throw. Oh, juicy, look at that damage. We don't get all the kills, but we do actually do a good chunk of damage to them. But that was my last throw, so it's time to send the unit back to the supply point. Get them back, get them some more ammo. They do actually have a pretty decent movement speed, so they move around pretty quickly. Don't take them too long to get to that supply point to resupply, and then we can obviously bring them back in. Charging unit of Landsknechts, always try and keep, one step behind as these as a unit. Quite easy to kill once they've missed their charge, but they will flatten you as a hero quite easily if you stand in the way of their charge. So I was going to be a bit careful of that. And then really, I'm just pushing with the rest of the team. nothing here that's really excessively concerning. You know, we should be able to push through all this sort of stuff. Just got some prefetch guards and stuff like that, but with the amount of stuff we've got pushing, the amount of friendly heroes, it looks like we're going to be mounting a pretty decent push on the B point, and that's where I'm going to be wanting to go next. And I'm really hoping there's going to be like a really nice dense cluster of 3 shields or something like that, something I could really burn. That's what I'm hoping for, because that's where these guys actually, you know, are useful. Fortunately, not quite to be in the way I initially hoped. And I'm a little bit concerned about the Pavese fire. So you've got to keep the unit a little bit back, because a Pavese will put nigh on one shot these guys. But actually, as we start to get in, we seem to start to get some actually fairly decent throws. Actually, we start to burn, you know, relatively effectively against this unit of shield maidens. End up basically trading ults with the maul there. But we go in a second throw, and that time we really land the shot. And look at the amount of damage we're getting in. We're burning, you know, 30, 40 units at once here, including some tier 5 shield maidens. You know, okay, are we really changing the outcome of this battle? Hard to say, probably not. But at least you can at least do something with these guys, even if they are pretty bad 90% of the time. And then I send them back and I start to head back to the resupply to get them re-ammoed and push on. But that really sums up my feelings on these guys. Quite an interesting unit, not a particularly effective unit, but they do very occasionally have their moments where they can perform relatively well. But if nothing else, they're a fun unit. I find them entertaining, and they're certainly quite an enjoyable one to use. But that's all I've got time for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, subscribe to the channel for lots more Conqueror's Blade content. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all on the next one.